Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, October 7th edition of the Sacred News and Weather. I'm Dana, I'm your hostess. I think you probably all know me by now, but if not, welcome to my channel. I'm delighted to have you here. Today's message it comes from, I had a very unusually social weekend, especially for a single mom. I don't get out much except to lots of soccer games and some parent functions. But I was a little bit social this weekend, and it was just interesting for me to be out in the world in that way. And the message that I heard for us this morning actually came from, I was at a gathering on Saturday evening, and I had a funny conversation with a man, or rather, he had a funny conversation with me. It was one of those moments where we were introduced, and I just held space, and he ended up sharing a whole lot in a very short period of time about his life and the end of his marriage and all of these things. And as he sort of got to the end of what he was saying, he looked at me and then looked horrified. And he was like, "What just happened?" And I was like, "Oh, it's okay. It's who I am. It's my work in the world. You didn't do anything wrong. Like this happens to me. People, as in men, women, anyone, in the right circumstances, I'm holding space in such a way that I get a large portion of somebody's life in a very short period of time." He was like, "Who are you? Some sort of sorceress?" And I was like, maybe. And I think I'm going to add that to my business card next. Actually, I'm a sorceress. That's my line of work. I like it. But what struck me is not so much the conversation or that moment in time, but as he was walking away, and he didn't say this aloud, but I could hear it and feel it. And of course, I already freaked him out enough, so I wasn't going to chase after him. But I heard, "Control the narrative." Ugh. And what I wanted to shout after him was like, "No, no, don't control the narrative. What you just did was brilliant. It was beautiful." And I hope that I conveyed that to him in our actual conversation. But I was so, I don't know, saddened or disappointed to feel that energy of like he felt like he did it wrong because he bubbled over and he didn't control the narrative. And I feel like that's where we're going today energetically, because that's what I heard this morning when I got into meditation for our collective. I heard his inner voice, which was again not something he said out loud, but his inner voice of control the narrative, and my inner voice of like, please no, stop controlling or stop trying to control the narrative. And so the energy that I think we're going into is really divine masculine energy today, which is unusual for us. There are several divine masculine individuals in this collective, meaning men. But I also want you to know that we all have divine masculine energy inside of us. And for some of you, even if you don't identify as masculine or divine masculine, for some of you, you will, in fact, see a lot of yourself in here, especially if you are someone who has a lot of masculine energy. I mean, I am someone who has a lot of masculine energy. And I mean, if you look at my chart astrologically, I most of my planets are masculine. I am the mother and the father. I'm the fixer and the doer and the chef and the homemaker. I hold a lot of masculine energy in my body, even though I identify as a woman and I am feminine. A lot of us, particularly if we, sorry, I just heard something, particularly if we are um, the cycle breakers in our families, uh, we have tended or tend to hold a lot of masculine energy in our beings. And so As with any message that I deliver, take what resonates and leave the rest behind, but don't be put off by thinking that this is a message for solely our men in this collective, because I think there is something here for most of us. But as always, take what resonates, leave the rest behind. If this is not your message, feel free to turn me off, look down below, or wait for what's next, because you will find something here eventually. As with all of my messages, they're timeless. So whether you're tuning in on Monday, October 7th, or if you are tuning in down the line at any time, know that if you're tuning in, there probably will be something here for you. The last thing I want to say is I'm going to be giving away a spot in the Unlikely Biblical Book Club today. Or in the coming days, one spot. We start this coming Thursday at 1 o'clock Pacific time, and we're going to run through December every other Thursday. This is not the offer for everyone, and I know that, but this is for you if you are curious about Christ consciousness and Christ Sophia, feminine Christ consciousness, and sort of looking at the Bible in a new way. We're going to be comparing the canonical Gospel of John alongside the Gospel of the Beloved Companion, which is said to be written by Mary Magdalene. And if you ask me, when we compare and contrast, you might even fall along the lines of, "Ooh, I think the Gospel of John might have been written by Mary Magdalene also." So putting that out there in case you're curious, there will be one spot available. It is about a $300 value, $99 a month for 3 months. So for free, if you would like a spot, I would love it if you would comment below, or if you prefer to reach me in other ways and know how to reach me in other ways, feel free to do that. I'm going to put names into a spinner wheel and choose a winner that way. So any way you would like to reach me to let you know that you're interested in that spot, please do. I would be delighted to have you. All right, getting back to control the narrative. Gah! So the feeling that I have around this divine masculine energy, first of all, there is a feeling of really wanting to be in control, like really grabby, really graspy. Like I am not free to like bubble up and over and let my story, let my narrative, let my feelings come out. There's a very tight feeling when I tap into the energy of this particular thread from our collective. It is like, oh, I have to be in control. And there's a feeling of using that control, using this control as a means of like keeping people out, but it's not necessarily because we want to keep people out. It's a learned behavior, and for some of you, it's like based in trauma. I know that my own was certainly based in trauma, this desire to keep people out, to only show what we have control over, to project our persona in a particular way, to be seen in a particular light. And there's this feeling of like that tight control, like almost like a corset that's been like pulled up and pulled tight, and like we can't hold it anymore. So like the pop, the stitches are popping out, and we're like trying to keep it all contained. And there's an element of shame, like if everything goes pop, if we let our full story be known, if we let our full story be told, we're going to be seen as the shameful, awful messes that we actually are. And what I want to suggest, and this is comes back to the messages from last week as well, that we are all perfectly, horribly, wonderfully messy humans, and we all have our messes, and our messes make us no less lovable than all of our glorious parts. But it's in trying to hide and control for the messes that we get especially messy and especially tight and especially constricted and restricted. And there's this feeling of really just wanting to let the corset out, wanting to be able to breathe, wanting to be able to be seen in all of who we are, and the relief and the comfort that could possibly come from being seen in all of who we are, in all of the complexity, in all of the mud, in all of the sparkles, and all of the unicorns. It's like there's this like image, like these images swirling of like shit and muck and mud and horse stalls and like sparkly glittery unicorn. Like we are all of it, but we're trying to control for like if you some of you are identifying with the unicorns and sparkles, and some of the masculines are like, yeah, no, not so much. But if we're trying to control for a way that we want to be seen in the world, we are actually like really stifling ourselves. And I was just being shown this morning that not only is the stifling not serving you, but it's actually not working right now. And that's part of what I want to speak to today, which is like the part that's not working. And I alluded to this on Friday. I believe it was in Friday's message, where there is this feeling of like we can't go back. It's like we there's a for so many of us, we are in this place of spiritual upgrade, spiritual awakening, timeline jumping, where we're moving into something bigger than what we already are. And we've had a taste of it. And for some of us, there was this feeling of like, oh, I got scared. I got a taste of it and I want that, but I also got really scared. And so I'm trying to stuff it all back into the corset and button everything up and pull the strings really tight. But it's like we don't fit there anymore. It's like we can't fit into the corset anymore. And also, why would you want to? But what I was shown around the why is that fear of the unknown. It's like, and this fear of failure as well. It's like, what if I let it all hang out and I'm rejected? What if I am seen in all of my magic? What if I'm seen in all of my mess? And for some of you, it is like you're a fear of being seen in all of your magic that is wanting you to be shoved back into the corset. And for some of you, it's the fear of being seen in the mess. And I want to suggest that it's both for everyone, because I don't believe we're ever one or the other. I believe we are entirely the magic and entirely the mess. And we're always working somewhere on that spectrum of where we are in any given moment. And there's this feeling of we can't possibly go back in, we can't be shoved back into the corset, but we're also like not quite ready. You're not quite ready to step forward and be fully seen and step fully into that next timeline. And so we're in this like sacred pause. And when I hear that guy again say, oh, I have to control the narrative or control the narrative, I want to shout, no, release control. Controlling the narrative is exactly that feeling of shoving yourself back into the corset, trying to like shove yourself in, buckle yourself up, like not be seen for your belly and your breasts or whatever parts of you that you feel like are shameful. Like we're trying to shove it all back in, and spirit's telling you like, no, you can no longer go back. You know too much, you've seen too much, you felt too much, you've had a taste of. There's this feeling of you've had a taste of what you could be. You've had a taste of where you could go. You've had like blessings from spirit, kisses from the right person, like whatever it is that you actually desire, that you're afraid to go for, that you're afraid to reach for, you've had a taste of it. You know what it tastes like, and you can't go back. You can only go forward. And so, how do we go forward? How do we like not control the narrative? How do we release the narrative and let ourselves flow over with who we are and what we are and radically accept ourselves? And there's the secret. Okay, there's I think where I'm meant to go with this message, because as it came through, radically accepting yourself, radical self-acceptance, what I could see was like looking at an image of looking at ourselves in the mirror and wanting to like smash the mirror with a hammer. Like I can't even look at myself. I'm so ashamed. I don't even want to, I can't show anybody else because I can't look at myself. And rather than controlling the narrative for something that is not actually true, for someone that you aren't actually embodying at your core, rather than busting up the mirror, we're being invited to actually gaze lovingly and longingly at all of our parts in that mirror, all of the messy, stinking, sulfury parts, and all of the unicorns and the sparkles. And I'm seeing, I keep saying unicorns and sparkles because well, that's what I'm seeing. But I also know that there's a divine masculine collective that's not really resonating with the unicorns and sparkles. But there's this feeling of like, if I talk about it that way, you can hear it just enough to hear it and like give yourself distance from it so that you can grow into it. But I also want to say that for the divine masculines, for some of you, it's like there's a body image thing. Like if I like look a certain way, if I get to a certain weight, if I add a certain amount of muscle, if I control, and this feels like Friday's message as well, like if I can control what I put in my mouth and control how I exercise and control for the money I make and control, then I will perhaps be able to deserve this next timeline, deserve that person, deserve that job, deserve that vacation, deserve that pleasure. That's not it. That for lack of anything more eloquent to say about it, that's not how we're going to get it. The way you are going to get it is to actually allow yourself to get a lot more vulnerable, to be a lot more vulnerable than you have ever been in your entire life. And I can feel the resistance there. I can feel where it feels like, yeah, unicorns and sparkles, whatever. Like, I'm just going to keep scrolling. I'm going to have another drink. I'm going to go screw somebody else. There's this feeling of numbing, like rather than looking in the mirror, like and gazing lovingly at yourself and recognizing that there is an absolutely beautiful human being there who, no matter how much you've fucked up, no matter how much you've messed up, you are deserving of love, you are deserving of kindness, you are deserving of beauty, and you are deserving of not being ashamed for overflowing in your narrative about where you've been. And it's in the allowing of the overflowing of the narrative. It's in the allowing of your softness, whether it's softness of body or softness of heart. That is where you're actually going to move into what I'm hearing is greater freedom. It's that next timeline. It's the thing that you most desire. It is the places you want to travel to. It's the places, it's the love that you want to have, it's the family that you want to have, it's the job that you want to have. You're not going to get it. Like I feel like there's a whole collective, and it's not just this collective, and in fact most of the people in this collective are not doing this, but I can just see out in the world, that collective of men who are not looking at themselves in the mirror. They're afraid to look. And instead, they're scrolling and they're numbing and they're looking for the next dopamine hit and they're looking for the body count. And it's like that's where they think their freedom is. And what we're being invited into, what these men, what our men are being invited into is putting down the phone and gazing lovingly at themselves and really asking themselves, devoting themselves to the man in the mirror first and foremost, to understand that you are deserving inherently of love. You are deserving of wealth and abundance. And it may not look like, and freedom, but it doesn't look like the version of freedom that you think you've been living in. Now, I'm going to leave this for a moment because I want to go into the narrative of the cycle breakers and how this fits with the cycle breakers. There is also a deep element of control, and I'm just going to out myself here. Like, I know this feeling so well. I am the cycle breaker in my family. I am the Technicolor dream sheep. I am the one who left home at 17 and never went back and have had to basically eschew every part of my what I knew growing up in order to build an empire for myself, in order to heal myself, in order to create a family that is healthy and functioning in after being raised in quite a bit of dysfunction. And so I know what that tightness is. I know what that control is. And I feel like this is where it manifests in our divine feminines who are really being driven by their masculine energy. For both camps, there's that element of if I relinquish control, whether you identify as a divine masculine who feels like you're stuck in you can't go back, but you can't go forward without moving through, or if you're identifying as the divine feminine who feels like you have to be in control of everything, we're being invited into relinquishing control collectively, into surrendering into the magic and the mess of who we are, and loving up on all of those sacred parts. There's this element. I went on a journey recently, a mushroom journey where I my divine feminine was wrestling, like literally tumbling through the sky with the divine masculine, and I was being asked to surrender to the divine masculine, to give over my power completely to the divine masculine. And there was so much resistance. The feeling was if I relinquished control to the divine masculine, I was going to die. I, Dana, all of my power, if I gave up all of my power, I was going to die. But the masculine was persistent and he was both wrestling but also very loving, to the point where when I could finally give over my power and rest into being held, I could see where my power would grow exponentially, could grow exponentially. I could feel the relaxing into all of who I was. And there was a recognition of me, Dana, as a human, as a very powerful divine feminine with a lot of divine masculine energy in me, where I recognized that if I am asking a masculine, and there's that man walking away from me again, and I could hear like control the narrative. If I am asking a masculine to release and relax and trust me, I need to be able to release and relax and trust in the masculine. The trouble is in the world that we live in is that we as women have been encouraged to do this work for a really long time. We have had full permission to, like, first of all, take control and be in our masculine power, and like push away men and push away that which we consider toxic, to really grow who we are. But our men have not had that permission. Our men really, the ones who are interested possibly and really moving into their divinity, literally have no idea how to be in the world. There's the narrative of, be in your power, be in and control the narrative, be like keep it all in here, hide your feelings, mask your feelings, bury your feelings, and move through the world not being fully surrendered to your feminine. And so I just want to remind us all in this collective that we are all in the same battle. We are all in the same battle of relinquishing control to our higher selves, relinquishing control altogether to step more deeply into love, relinquishing control to get to the truth of who we are, which is that no matter how messy we are, no matter how much shame we have of our actions in the past, our way of being, or pride and joy in our way of being. We're being invited into more surrender, more understanding, more love. And if we can't recognize another person's struggle, if we can't recognize another person's beauty, if we can't hold another person, it might be because we're not looking at what we need to look at in ourselves. And so I don't know that this message was particularly eloquent today. I feel like it was a little bit messy because I'm still sorting through bits and pieces of it. But it feels really important for you to know that surrender and softness and relinquishing the narrative, whether you're masculine or feminine or somewhere in between, we all have both. We're being invited to relinquish control over the narrative and to soften into who we truly are. And true freedom is going to be found in that place, relinquishing how we're seen, relinquishing what we think we're supposed to do, truly gazing at ourselves in the mirror and allowing ourselves to be seen fully in our magic and fully in our mess. That's the way we're going to set ourselves free. That's the way we're going to step fully into our potency and into our power. And it's not about seizing control of the narrative. We'll leave that to the messed up politicians. And we're going to let that mess happen as we get closer to our own truth. And the narrative, the true narrative, was that sweet man's bubbling over of vulnerability. And that's the place where we can truly connect as humans in our joy and in our pain and in our magic and in our mess. If you can, release one element of control, lean back and surrender one small piece of your own narrative and offer it up to someone you love. That's our invitation for today. And Lord knows I have no idea what I was just talking about. I hope it all made sense. Magic in the mess. All right. I love you all. Thank you for being here with me today. Please like and share and subscribe. Post down below if you're interested in a free spot in the Unlikely Biblical Book Club. If you're afraid to post down below, be brave. Be brave. Come into the comments. Be brave. You can do it. But if you can't and you have other ways of reaching me, you can reach me there too. I will on Wednesday announce our winner. All right. Happy Monday. I'll see you all on Wednesday. Bye bye.